Trump finally caves in and agrees to an orderly transition after 4 die, including one of his female supporters who was shot, as mob armed with pipe bombs, guns, and Molotov cocktails stormed Congress in failed bid to overturn Biden's victory. Donald Trump has promised an orderly transition of power after Joe Biden's election win was finally certified by Congress, a process delayed by hours after a day of chaos in the U.S. Capitol that left 4 dead. Trump, who has been temporarily banned from Twitter in the wake of the riot, issued a statement via his social media director Dan Scavino which said, "Even though I totally disagree with the outcome of the election, and the facts bear me out, nevertheless there will be an orderly transition on January 20th. I have always said we would continue our fight to ensure that only legal votes were counted. While this represents the end of the greatest first term in presidential history, it's only the beginning of our fight to make America great again." The statement came after one of the darkest days in American political history, which began with Trump urging his supporters to march on the Capitol building to stop the result being certified, and ended with 4 people dead. Congress had to be suspended as Trump supporters rioted in the symbolic home of Western democracy, looting and breaking into congressional offices as politicians donned gas masks and fled under armed guard. One woman, 14-year Air Force veteran Ashley Babbitt, was shot dead inside the building, while 3 others died from individual medical emergencies elsewhere on Capitol property. Pipe bombs were also left outside the headquarters of the Democrat and Republican National Committees, and a truck full of rifles and Molotov cocktails seized. As the anarchy raged, Trump's own cabinet began discussing using the 25th Amendment to declare him unfit for office before his term officially ends at noon on January 20th when Joe Biden is inaugurated, CBS News reported. Meanwhile, Trump was booted off social media for 24 hours after describing the mob as great patriots and claiming, without evidence, that the election was being viciously stolen. Biden described the rioters as extremists staging an insurrection that bordered on sedition. Congress was eventually able to return to session, where the typically routine business of certifying Joe Biden's win was completed, with Vice President Mike Pence sealing his fate, despite Trump urging him to rebel. Amid the chaos, but thanks to the swift efforts of the U.S. Capitol Police, federal, state and local law enforcement, the violence was quelled. The Capitol is secured and the people's work continues, Pence said. But astonishingly, and to the disgust of Republicans including Mitt Romney and every Democrat, some Republicans continued their doomed bid to overturn the election result. In the Senate, objections were filed in Arizona and Pennsylvania, but both were torpedoed by majority vote. House Republicans also tried to challenge the results in Georgia, Michigan, and Nevada, but didn't have final support. Pennsylvania's vote concluded just before 1 a.m., virtually bringing the 12-hour certification saga to a close. Former President George W. Bush and Senator Mitt Romney lashed out at Donald Trump's loyalists in Congress on Wednesday, claiming they are the ones who caused the president's biggest supporters to storm the Capitol building. "It is a sickening and heartbreaking sight," the 43rd U.S. president said in a statement Wednesday. "This is how election results are disputed in a banana republic, not our democratic republic." Romney, who has been an outspoken critic of the president from his post as Utah senator the last 2 years, said the chaos on Capitol Hill was due to a selfish man's injured pride and the outrage of his supporters whom he has deliberately misinformed for the past 2 months and stirred to action. He also blamed his Republican colleagues in the House and Senate for agreeing to object to the Electoral College results and giving supporters false hope that there is a way to overturn Joe Biden's victory. "The objectors have claimed they are doing so on behalf of the voters," Romney said in a statement released Wednesday. "Have an audit," they say, "to satisfy the many people who believe that the election was stolen. Please. No congressional-led audit will ever convince those voters, particularly when the president will continue to claim that the election was stolen." The chaotic scenes unfolded at about 3 p.m., soon after Trump addressed thousands of his supporters and encouraged them to march to the Capitol. The protesters organized via far-right social media sites, including Gab and Parler, telling each other the best routes to avoid police on their way to the Capitol. As the mob broke down police barricades and stormed into the Capitol, lawmakers cowering inside the House chamber were told to put on gas masks as tear gas was fired in the rotunda. Officers at the front door of the chamber had their guns drawn at a protester trying to break down the door. For those fleeing, it was a race against time. Protesters were getting in as quickly as members of Congress could get out. As the violence escalated, Trump tweeted, "I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order, respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you." He did not initially tell the protesters to leave. Biden on Wednesday evening called for the restoration of simple decency after the mob delayed Congress from certifying the results of November's election. At this hour, our democracy is under unprecedented assault unlike anything we've seen in modern times, Biden said. He called it an assault on the rule of law like few times we have ever seen it. I call on this mob to pull back and allow democracy to go forward. In an address that took less than 10 minutes and was televised against a split screen of the still-occupied Capitol building, Biden attempted to project calm and to say that a deeply divided country can still come together, while also expressing outrage. He stopped short of accusing Trump of treason but said the events bordered on sedition. At their best, the words of a president can inspire, Biden added. At their worst they can incite. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people, he said. We have to have peace. So, go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.